Hey there everyone, Tom here again. I'm just doing a little video today on some vintage postcards. I thought it would be an interesting subject. I've got quite a lot of them, so I'm going to try and just go through a few, and I might just put up some examples as pictures, but I'll also just hold up a group because it's much easier just to let you see what they look like. And they're just going to be concentrating from the 1900s or there around, maybe up to 1930, 1940. I've got lots of modern postcards, but I'm not going to worry about them today. I think the modern ones are just pretty much tennis postcard, like the tennis centre at Melbourne and Wimbledon and such places like that. They're not really things that are exciting. But the vintage ones are. I think you'll like today's video. So postcards became popular for people to use to communicate when they were on overseas, and it was just a way of saying, this is such a nice place, let's come and visit, wish you were here. That's the normal thing you write on a postcard. But in the 19th and 20th centuries, they became extremely popular, and they were a quick way for people to communicate. The study of postcards, or the collecting of postcards, is called deltiology. So deltion is from the Greek word of a small writing tablet, and the ology obviously is study of. So deltiologist is what you would call someone who collects postcards. The earliest known picture postcard was from 1840, and the first known printed picture or lithograph was with an image on one side, was created in France in 1870. In 1871, the first known picture postcard that was produced as a souvenir was sent from Vienna. Cards showing images increased in number during the 1880s. In 1894, British publishers were given permission by the Royal Mail to manufacture and distribute picture postcards. Early postcards were pictures of landmarks or scenic views, photographs, drawings of celebrities, and so on. In the early 1930s, you would have come across the saucy postcards or the seaside postcards, and these became widespread and reached a total of 16 million being sent a year. It's quite a lot on saucy postcards. However, in Britain, the Conservatives, which were in government at the time, considered them too bawdy, and they asked them to not be used in the future. So they spoilt the fun for the general public. If you've ever seen a saucy postcard, they are quite funny. I remember seeing them as like a child, so they're not, they're funny, but they're not meant to be sexy, if you like. Picture postcards allowed and encouraged many individuals to send images across national borders. The legal availability of a postcard image in one country did not guarantee the card would be considered proper in the destination countries. So, for example, people of colour or nudity postcards. Nudity ones were commonly known as French postcards. And postcard albums were commonly seen in Victorian parlours. And this is just an album that I've got them in, but as you can see, the postcards fit in these quite nicely. But Victorian albums would have been highly decorated and would have been looked at quite a lot by the family and enjoyed and discussed. One of the things about postcards was that some of them were made into small jigsaws. They might have had 9 to 12 pieces in them. I'll put up an example of one. It's not a tennis themed one, but it's one that I have just because I found it in an opportunity, a charity shop, and I thought it was quite interesting. It's the Spirit of 76. As I say, it's not a tennis one, but it shows you that it came in an envelope, and what you would do is you would write the message on the back of the postcard. You would then break it into all the individual pieces, put it in the envelope, post it to your friend, and then your friend had the fun of putting it together. I know 9 or 12 pieces are not really hard to put together, but it gave them a little bit of amusement, and then they could read the message on the back. Okay, so let's start off with a small group of 3 postcards. They're all sent by the same person, and that person was Harry Hopperman, who is the Australian tennis captain coach of the Australian Davis Cup team, 22 Australian Cup teams, Davis Cup teams, from 1939 to 1967. So Hopperman was also a journalist, and he worked at the Herald newspaper, Melbourne newspaper. And I have a little bit of a letterhead here from Harry Hopperman. It says, "Thank you for the December 2nd invitation. I will be there. Shall talk to the boys," which are the players of the Davis Cup team. "Shall talk to the boys about it and feel sure they will be along. Not so sure of Brom," who is John Bromwich. "Not so sure of Brom. He doesn't yet know whether he will be playing in the Vic titles." And it's signed by Harry Hopperman. And his 3 postcards were when he was overseas with the Davis Cup team. And so there's this one here, which is the university in, where is this one? Mexico. University of Mexico. So this is his postcard. And on the back it's addressed to Mrs. Baker, who was at the newspaper that he worked at, and she was on the switchboard. And that's just a postcard from him, but it's part of my collection because it's Harry Hopperman, the tennis coach. And this other one here is the Queen Elizabeth, which is a hotel, and that is in Montreal. So that's this one. And this one is unusual in that it's a fold-out card. So this was a postcard that was stuck on the bottom. This piece here was licked and stuck across it, which is why it says Melbourne on the bottom of the card. And then when he stuck it onto the card, it hid Melbourne, so you had to write Melbourne again on the little bit here. It wasn't opened through the perforation, which was where this little bit would have been torn off. But again, it's written to Mrs. Baker. And this says, oh yes, the other thing about these 3 postcards is they all have Australian stamps on them, which I thought was kind of strange. I mean, if you're posting something from Mexico and Montreal, they're not going to have Australian stamps on them. They're going to have stamps of the country. But it turns out, when I read this postcard, it says, "Gosh, I knew I had forgotten someone when marking off scribbles to the poor unfortunate workers back home. But it never is too late. So can I say, hope you're all well and wish you were here." So that's the typical thing of wish you were here. But the little footnote down here says, "From this point, you have to use your imagination and visualize a foreign stamp postmark on the front." So clearly these 3 postcards, which all have Australian stamps, he obviously forgot to post them, stuck stamps on them when he got back to Australia, and then posted them to Mrs. Baker. So the 3rd postcard from Harry to the switchboard lady is this one. This is a tennis themed one. And this is a tennis stadium in Sweden. And again, this says, hope this finds you well after an enjoyable Christmas season. And it's down at the bottom, it then says after that, "Sorry, no sir yet." So he's obviously expecting to be made Sir Harry Hopperman. but he hasn't had an indication that he's got that honour as yet. And so these 3 postcards are quite unique for me. Obviously, Mrs. Baker was the switchboard worker, and she was seemed to be very popular. With the wording in tennis, the call of love, that produced a lot of postcards, romantic postcards with a tennis theme, and they usually involved a pretty lady on the front. And so it's no surprise that postcard featured this topic. So I've got some of these to have a look at. They're basically loving couples in embracing each other and holding maybe a tennis racket, or have a tennis scene behind them, or they might be on the tennis court as well. So I'm just going to show you a few examples of the couples on court, which are really nice postcards. This one's from Switzerland, and it's a nice couple by the side of the court. And this one doesn't have a country on it, but this one, as you can see, this is quite nice, little loving couple, 2 couples on the tennis court, and it has some text on the side. So normally you'll find a couple of postcards have a little poem or a little comment, and this one says, "Though 'tis for tennis they have met, all their hearts are in the net. Why play, think they, with bat and ball? Let's spoon instead, the game's love all." This one here is this is a London postcard. And again, this is another little loving couple. And on the bottom of that, it just says, "It is my Ceres." It's what it says at the bottom of that one. Quite a nice little English postcard. This one is from France. And it says on the front, so this is the postcard, this is one from France. It's a little loving couple sitting down and enjoying each other's company. And it says at the top corner here, you can see, "Cette carte vient de France." So that means this card comes from France. But it's got so much writing on the back, all in French. And I'm not even sure, this might have been sent in an envelope, because there's no stamp on it and there's no address on the postcard either. But that's quite a nice postcard. And then we have this one. And this is a sort of vintage looking sepia colored postcard. And that's from Great Britain. And it has the text at the bottom, as you can see. And this one reads, "Partners in a game of tennis, with smiles they wage the mimic strife. But Cupid knows the game and binds them, partners in the game of life." It's quite a nice one. Then we have this one, which is again, this is a French one. And this is just a black and white postcard. It's got a little bit of hand colouring on it, not a lot, just in the flowers, as you can see. And then there is this one. This is a French one again. And this is a couple with tennis rackets lovingly looking into each other's eyes. And this one says, "Avez-vous aimé, je mets ma gloire, quand je le dis, il faut me croire." Now I Google translated that, so it says, "In loving you, I place my glory. When I say it, you must believe me." Strange translation, but it's pretty much what it is. So that's just a couple of examples of couple ones that are based on the theme of love, which is the lawn tennis. Some tennis postcards I have are glamour postcards, so they show women, always women, in quite nice poses. I have 3 here that are parts of a set. I've done some investigation on these 3 because they've got a name on the postcard at the top. Just at the top here it has a little bit of writing, and it says Rosa d'Orth, O-R-T-H. And it turns out that she is an actress and was a theatrical actress as well on the stage. These are German postcards, and they are by a company called Gerlach and Company. So they had a letter printing press department that printed the cards address side. On the back they had the address, and as well as captions on the picture side. So you can see the little caption in the top right corner. I'll show you them in a second. So what they did was, during the earlier years, this company, the captions documented the name of the person, and they were produced in a glossy finish, and they were also hand tinted. So let you have a look at these. So this is the first one of Rosa d'Orth. You can see that they're all hand coloured. So there would have been a series of these cards. And this one as well. So you can see they're all hand coloured, hand tinted. So I've seen original postcards that are not coloured, because I wondered if they're hand tinted, surely somebody's not actually painting them by hand, depending on how many they produce, which have probably been in the thousands. But I did find this one online. I found it as a plain color, not a non-coloured copy of this one, and also found a couple of other copies of this postcard, and the dresses were a different colour, so they were definitely individually hand tinted. So that must have been quite a job to have done that before sending these out. And they had the address on the back. So these are Dutch postcards, German postcards, sorry. German manufactured postcards, but one of these came from Brussels, and 2 of them came from Brussels and 1 came from Amsterdam. But they're very nice cards. And lady postcards like that, where there's quite a lot of them. As you can see, women in general were in tennis outfits were a popular postcard theme. So these two are by PC Paris. So PC stands for Papeterie de Le Valois Cliché, and that was a highly popular French publisher of real photo postcards during the 1920s. So this is 2 of their cards. Again, you can see that these are hand tinted, hand coloured, and rather nice sort of glamour cards, if you like. Glamorous ladies in tennis gear were quite a theme in postcards. So this one here is from 1908. As you can see, this is just so these would just have been portrait shots, probably just made for sale, not necessarily for the family. So this one's from 1908, and The other thing, I'll mention it now while I've got this card in my hand. I have a lot of cards that have a penny red stamp. And I thought penny reds and penny black stamps were quite valuable. But I took them to a reputable stamp shop in Melbourne, and it turns out he wasn't even interested in them. So I thought that was kind of strange, because I always thought penny red stamps were rare and valuable, but it seems not. And I've got quite a lot of these postcards have got penny red stamps and penny blacks, but he wasn't interested in any of them, so I just took them back. So this is the next glamorous one. It just says on the front, "Ready to play." This is quite a nice little postcard. This one hasn't been used. This one here, this I think is a Spanish postcard. It's got Inglaterra, which is I think the Spanish word for England. And this was part of a series of different countries that were produced by this card company. This particular one, as I say, is for England, but there were other countries produced for them. And then this one here, this is a French postcard again, another lady postcard, sitting in a hammock holding a racket. So that's a French one. I'm not sure if this is hand colored. It looks like it, but I don't think it's a hand tinted one. And this other one here, this is a French postcard as well, which is a really nice shot of a lady, young girl. And as I say, lots of pictures of young girls in the postcards, and very pretty ones as well. There was an English artist called William Barrable. He was from London, 1874 to 1952. And the postcard that I've got here is one of his drawings. He was also a lithographer. He regularly exhibited his work, and his images were mostly of exquisite and fashionable Edwardian women. And they've become classic things. So this is my William Barrable postcard that I have. This was quite an expensive postcard, as prices go for postcard. But this is a really nice one. I like this. And he was a famous English artist. So you'll see a lot of his work around, but this is the only Barrable card. Other than a set of playing cards, this is the only postcard I have that is by him. So moving on from glamorous young ladies, I've got this German postcard, and this postcard is heavily embossed. You can actually see the design from the back as well. It's a young German boy, early 1900s, and it's by PFB of Germany. So that's Paul Finkenrath of Berlin. He operated from 1900 to 1915, and he was a pioneer known for producing high quality, heavily embossed postcards. So this is this postcard. This is the little boy. It's a really nice postcard. And if you have a look on the back, you can, I'm not sure if you can see it, but you can see the design. It's all embossed. So this has got, on the front, this is all raised. And it's quite a good postcard, good quality postcard. So postcards do have sets of postcards. So there's a set I have where 6 in the set. I only have 5. I'm now watching the 6th postcard on eBay, so I'm hoping to get that to complete the set. But these two here are, these are from New Zealand, and one is a picture of a lady, which is a really nice one. And the other one that goes with this is the picture of a tramp. So it's kind of unusual to see a tramp wielding a tennis racket. But as you can see down the bottom, it just says tennis. So this is 2 that I have. But they are part of a set. There are more of these in the set, but these are the only 2 I have. These have a penny red stamp on the back of both of these as well. So these are from 1905. And going by that, this is 2 cards from another set. These ones are French, and they're from 1923. So we have a little girl here in a sort of sailor's outfit, if you like. And to go with that card, there is the young boy, quite well dressed, has some flowers in his hand with the racket. Again, that's part of a set. I'm not sure how many are in that, but they're quite nice. And they're sort of given a tint at the top. You see the pink for the girl, blue for the boy. But I believe there are more in that set as well. So this next card is by a company called Gaffron, NV Gaffron. And they were vintage and antique postcards published by them, and which had their name on them. They were mostly historical and topographical views, but they also did specific subject. And this one here is 2 ladies on the tennis court playing against each other. The comment on the card is physical culture for ladies at Berwick-on-Tweed. So this was just 2 ladies on court, but they were using it to advertise exercising. The best way to exercise is get on a tennis court. And Berwick-on-Tweed, I believe, is in Britain somewhere. This next postcard is an ABC postcard, the Australian Broadcasting Commission. It's the British Davis Cup team from 1933 to 1934, and they're at the radio mic of the ABC. So it shows you Fred Perry, Frank Wilde, Pat Hughes and Harry Lee, and they won the Davis Cup against France. There is another person there called Frank Leach. He was not part of the team, so I believe this could be somebody who was possibly an announcer at the ABC. And this was produced by Australia. This is an Australian postcard. So the next 5 postcards I'm just going to show you quickly. These are postcards of members of a club. In these particular ones, they're Country Victoria in Australia. So they're Corowa and Yea, Y-E-A. They're two little towns in Country Victoria. So the thing about these postcards is they're not only just postcards of the tennis club's history and the people there, but they show the fashion that was used at the time. So you'll quite like these pictures. And so these are real people who would have been members of each of these clubs and had group photos taken. So they show the clothing and the fashion for the men and women of the day. So this one is Yea, Y-E-A. And this one is Corowa, another town in Country Victoria. And oops. And this one is Yay as well. Same country town. And this one, I'm not sure what time this one is. This is quite faint, quite a difficult one to see, but give you an idea what the fashions were like. And also this one. So the little country towns were quite busy with players, obviously, as you can see by the crowds in these photographs. And it's a good historical photograph. These two cards are from Germany. Cards were sometimes used to send greetings like Christmas or New Year, birthday, Happy Father's Day, Mother's Day, whatever. These ones are quite nice because they are covered in glitter. I don't know if you can see the racket, all that racket out shape is in glitter. And also this one. This one says Happy New Year. And the little, it's kind of worn off, but there is glitter on the handle and around the edge of the racket itself. So these are quite nice cards. Again, they have the penny red stamp on these ones as well. I have a card here by a French artist, André Marty, which is from 1882 to 1974. He was a Parisian artist who worked mainly in the classic Art Deco style. This is published by Leon Ullman, and it depicts a couple with their dog, and the man is holding a racket. So that's a French press quote by a famous French artist. So another famous artist is Charles Keene. He was from 1823 to 1891, and this is his. This is an illustration that was done by him called The 7 Ages of Lawn Tennis. I'm not sure what they actually see in that, but it's an illustration by him in the 19th century, and it was parodying Shakespeare's The 7 Ages of Man. This illustration hangs in the Museum of Luxembourg. Okay, so I have a set here of postcards. There are 6 in the set. I've got 5 of them, and this is the one I'm watching on eBay to get the 6th one to complete the collection. So these are by Edward Patrick Kinsella, 1874 to 1936. He was a British illustrator and animator known for his humorous Edwardian era postcards and theatrical posters. Now, he is the one that everyone collects in the way of postcards. So if you can instantly recognize his postcards, and if you see one of these in a collectibles place, Kinsella ones are quite collectible. So the ones, so I'll just explain a little bit about him. So his series of postcards featured little boys and girls dominating a sport. So the boys would be playing cricket and the girls were playing tennis. So the girls I've got obviously are the tennis ones. And they had wording on them. So I'll just show you the first one. Now these are not necessarily in order, but they're very nice postcards. So this is the first one. This is the one called Love. So you can see at the bottom it says Love. And that's one of them. And this one is Vantage Inn. Again, it reads Vantage Inn at the bottom. And to go with Vantage In, there's Vantage Out, which is quite a funny one. She's got hit on the nose by the tennis ball. And this one says Game. And this one here says Deuce. It's quite a funny one too. So I've got 5 in this set of 6. As I say, I'm watching the last one that I need to complete the collection. Currently watching that on eBay. It's only £1 something in Britain, but it's going to cost me like £8 or £9 to post it, which is quite ridiculous. But if I can get it, because the other postcards are around $5 or $6 American, and American postage is even worse than British. So I'm thinking I'll get this one quite soon and complete the collection, so I've got a space in the album ready for it. On the postcards, you'll find, other than glamorous ladies, you'll find lots of ones with young kids. They could be photographs of kids playing tennis, but the next lot I'm going to show you are comical cards with children on them, and then I'll show you some comical animal cards playing tennis. So we've got a cat and we've got a bear playing tennis. So we'll start off with the kiddies one. So the first one here is this is a British postcard, and it shows you a little girl dressed ready for tennis, and the boy has a gun ready to go hunting, shooting. And it has a little poem on the bottom, and it says, "Whether your sport is with a racket or gun, if your togs are right, the game's half won." So it's quite a nice little postcard, that one. So that's from Renee Cloak, and Renee Cloak is a British illustrator. So you might have seen these somewhere in the British kids books or something like that. So here we have another one. This is a French postcard, and this is 2 little children playing tennis, and the dogs ran away with the ball. And that says Le Chien. Well, this is Le Chien talking, that's the dog talking. It says, "Je vais le faire voir que moi aussi, je sais jouer à la balle." So it's pretty much saying, you can see that I also know how to play with the ball. So it's quite a nice little postcard. This next one is a Dutch postcard, and this is probably the first postcard I've got that shows any violence on the tennis court, and that's this one. So the young child is just hitting the other child across the head with a racket, broke all the strings, and in the top corner you'll see the Dutch writing on this one. I'm not going to read Dutch because I have no idea what it's saying, how to read it, but it pretty much says, "Oh, what are you doing? It is nevertheless a no ball. Ow, ow." So he's, hitting him on the head. Obviously that's going to cause some pain. This one is from 1909. It's a London, it's a British postcard. It's a bit like cartoony, obviously. It just says "well served," and you can see the lady is hitting the man on the nose with the tennis ball. They're quite funny. And then we have a little romantic couple. And you see the umpire and the lady tennis player, the girl tennis player looking up at him, admiring him. And it says on the bottom of that, "I'm scoring well here." That's a little romantic one for the kids. And then the last one is this one, which says, "Yours received." And this is a little boy again being hit in the face by his opponent. So it's they're quite funny postcards for children. So the animal cartoon ones, this one's a teddy bear, and it's called Teddy at Tennis. It's a postcard from London, and it's quite a nice little funny postcard. Again, he's been hit on the nose with the tennis ball, and the teddy at the side of the net is sort of possibly responsible for it. Who knows? But you can see there's more teddy bears in the background playing tennis. This is a glossy postcard, as you can see. It's quite a funny little postcard. And then there is this one, which is this is a French postcard. No, sorry, it's written in French, sorry, but it's a postcard made by a publisher in London. And this is cats playing tennis. This one says, "This is just between ourselves." So they're having a good old volley at the net there. And this one says, "Keep your eye on the ball." This looks like an Australian postcard, this one. So it says, "Keep your eye on the ball." And obviously that's literally what that little pussycat did. Kept his eye on the ball. And then we have the last one, which is another cat one. And the illustration on this one looks like a Mabel Lucy Atwell illustration. It's a British postcard, so it might be that the little girl looks like the sort of drawings that Atwell did. But the cat reminds me of Felix the cat, so I'm not sure whether it's a combination of the two. But this one says, "Love all indeed. Wish I dare use a swear word." So that one you can see up the top. And he's obviously been hit on the face. So it's a popular topic about getting hit in the face with a tennis ball. But yeah, so these are the cartoony kids ones which I have. The next one is a postcard of the Golden Gate Tennis Courts and Conservatory at Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. This was a postcard, so I'll just put that up. This was a postcard that was made by the Cardinal Vincent Company, who were a prominent 20th century producer of photographs, postcards and illustration. They were the official photographer and concessionaire of the 1915 Panama Pacific International Exposition in San Francisco. So this card is an official postcard and of the event, and has an official stamp of the event as well. They held the exclusive photographic monopoly throughout the 9-month run that the exposition was on. And their team of photographers produced a comprehensive visual record of the fair's exhibits, the architecture and prominent attendees. And so that's this postcard. with the stamp in the top right hand corner. So that's quite a unique postcard. I've got a couple of postcards of tennis being played on the beach, which is an unusual place to see anyone play. But this first one here is in Blankenberg at the Pauwels de Hont Hotel in Belgium. And this is them playing tennis on the beach there. And this one is Châtelet Beach, which is in France. Again, that's them playing tennis on the beach there. And this one is in French again. That's at Saint-Jean-de-Monts, which is a ladies' beach in France. Which is, it's obviously hard enough sand to make the ball bounce. I think it must be quite difficult to play tennis on the beach, but obviously it was done. This postcard is an unusual postcard. It's the Dominican nuns, and at first I thought this was the nuns actually playing tennis, but according to this, it's a boarding school run by the Dominican nuns, and they do traditional education and personalized support. So they welcome students from kindergarten through middle school to high school. So I think, even though it looks like they're wearing nun outfits, I think these are possibly the children, and they all look like girls. So if they're not the nuns, then it could be possibly just girls at the school playing tennis, but having to wear that sort of nun-type uniform. I'd like to think it was the nuns that were actually playing tennis, because that would be quite fun. I think I have mentioned Edwin Trim, the official photographer for players at Wimbledon, and you'll see that on the bottom of his postcards, you'll see it says Edwin Trim, and I've got quite a few of his postcards. And these two that I've specifically got, this one is Helen Hull Jacobs. And it says down there, Miss H. Jacobs, so that's Helen Hull Jacobs. And she won 9 Grand Slam titles and was the #1 player in 1936. And the other one I've got, just to show you, because I've got lots of players, but vintage times. The other one I've got is this player, French player called Christian Boussus. And he was a French player from the 1920s, 30s. And he was France's #1 player from 1934 through to 1937. You can also see that this card is actually signed by him. So this one from my collection is worth a lot more than just a normal trim postcard. Trim postcards can be quite expensive. They're probably the most collectible ones from the Wimbledon series, mainly because he was the official photographer. But all cards you'll find will have the Trim name on them. So if they look like a Trim postcard but they don't have that on them, they're not a Trim postcard. So the last postcards today, sticking to Wimbledon. This is the All England Tennis Courts in Wimbledon. As you can see, it's just a picture of the courts, the outside courts. So they're around the ground. There's no fences or anything like that. So that's definitely an early photograph of Wimbledon. And the other one I have is a black and white postcard. And this would be from 1939, this postcard. And so what this one is, it's the centre court doubles match of tennis between Don Budge and Jean Mako. They were a highly successful American doubles pairing. They won back-to-back gentlemen's doubles titles at the Wimbledon Championships in 1937-38. And this postcard actually shows the 1938 finals match where they defeated the German pair of Henner Henkel and Georg von Metaxa. So this postcard, not just as a finals at Wimbledon, it's a Wimbledon historical postcard. So this is a record of the match, and I'm not sure. I've got a tiny little jeweler's magnifying glass, and you won't see it because it has to be. But here is the scoreboard, and so that's how I know who was playing, because you can actually read it with the jeweler's eyeglass. So I know that's who is on this court and when it was played, because it tells me, Googling the match tells me the year and everything. So this is a historical one. It's very nice. Okay, so hopefully that's not such a long video. I think it might be quite a long video, but once I've edited it, it might not be so long. I've got lots more vintage postcards of views that incorporate a tennis court or a tennis club. Also, I've got some scenes, country scenes, but they've all got something related to tennis, but they're not as interesting to look at as the ones I've just gone through today. So other than that, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm sorry it's late. I've not been well again, unfortunately. But hopefully I'm home now, getting better, and I'll have a look through my collection and see what else I can do for next week. And then when Wimbledon starts, I'm hoping to do a special on just one item at Wimbledon. So you will be very pleased to know that it's not going to be as long, but it will be quite an interesting one. And that will be for when Wimbledon's on the 29th of July. Again, I'll be sleeping in the lounge, which I did for the French Open. The person I wanted to win the men's singles didn't, unfortunately, but can't win them all, as they say. So thank you for watching. Look after yourselves, hope you're well, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.